All right, we are moving along in this crucial life group leader discipleship series. And I believe that as you begin to implement these things, you're going to see the fruit. So I'm gonna continue on to this next component, and I want to talk to you about kind of a next phase as we're talking about leading discussions and discussion building. There's some really cool tactics that you can implement in leading a life group that can really amplify the effects that you're having. In the last video, I talked about building the discussion and structuring the types of questions. But in this video, what do you do when people start answering? And how do you can continue making that conversation flow? Suppose I ask a question, and it's a great question about interpreting a passage of scripture, and I get a really great answer. What do I do then? Well, a lot of folks who are leading a life group will just say, "That's good," or "Right," or "Yes," and then it's the end of it. But unfortunately, that kills the discussion when we do that. Don't do this. If somebody says something good, tell them why you like it. Tell them what you think is good. That is a really great point. I really like what you said about this. And it makes me think of this other thing. Or what you can do is you can say, "That is a really great point." And then identify somebody else. So-and-so, what do you think about what they said? Do you agree with that statement? What's been your experience? And then you can play that out, and you can talk about one person's answer between 3 or 4 different responses. And then you can ask for a different response to that question. And I would say something like, "Well, we heard what so-and-so said in this frame. What does somebody else have to think? What else you might interpret from this passage of scripture?" And then you can take 3 or 4 responses to their question. And then really I'm serving as a facilitator and as a guide, walking them through the conversation. Okay? I hope you're tracking with what I'm saying here, but what we're saying is if I've got a group of 4 people sitting with me, I want all 4 of those people to respond. And if I affirm their answer and draw it out and invite other people to respond to their answer, then we are going to go deeper into that concept. But also what it does is when I affirm someone's answer, the next question I ask, they're more inclined to answer it again. If they just say an answer and I say yes, then they don't necessarily know what it is that they said that was right or wrong. They feel like the best they can do is get the right answer. We come from a culture where we take tests, and in those tests, we want to get the right answer and not the wrong answer. And if they come to your life group and they're giving an answer and all you're doing is being a test rubric saying yes or no, then the best they can possibly do is get the correct answer. But what you really want to understand is the nuance of their answer so that they can understand what they're grasping, and maybe even if they don't have the full picture, how more can be drawn out. You can even say something like, "I really like what you have to say about this, but I think there's more to that idea. Does somebody else want to play with this idea a little bit and see what else we can learn about this response? And see if we can draw out more, we can go a little bit deeper with it." So when we begin to incorporate a culture of affirmation, it becomes a safe place. It becomes a place where people can trust one another. They can participate knowing that whatever answer they give, there's going to be a positive response. And that's really important for you to understand as a life group leader, is that we never want to give a negative response. Even if somebody gives an incorrect answer, we still want to be positive because they responded. We don't get any opportunity to affirm and encourage people if they give a wrong answer and we shut them down. The next time that we ask a question, they're just not going to answer. And that is a net loss for the group. So I want you to think about what it means to strategically affirm people's responses. You might say something like, "I really like what so-and-so said about this earlier, and I think it ties to this question. What do y'all think? How does that connect with this idea?" Or maybe you could say, "You know, every time you answer, I love the way that you think about it in this way." In the next video, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how to respond if they're off the rails a little bit, if they get a little bit confused, if they're misunderstanding the text, if they're giving a heretical response. That's going to happen sometimes in your life group too. So tune into the next video and learn about how to respond in those moments.